Like with anything in life, there is an infinite number of things that are healing to us. 111 Ways to Heal podcast is about that. Enjoy. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are in a beautiful van with amazing forest fairies, part of the healing circle. And I just wanted to start this episode and start us off with the topic that we all decided to unpack today and just overall reflect on heavy energies of the week. Because I feel like all we want to do in this circle is really be the reflection of the collective energies that we are picking up on and really like talking them out with each other. And that's what we do when we catch up anyway. So I think really bringing that to this podcast as well, I think is very healing and beautiful, especially if you are missing a bit of that healing circle energy in your life, or feel like this helps you further process what's going on in your life. Maybe this will help. Join us and listen in, and maybe join us in comments as well. I will start by saying that this week felt like a giant I am done with this week. It was just every day, non-stop, something would give me the, can this just stop? Like moments. And I genuinely am not that person who would have that energy. I am the most positive person you would meet. Like I always will find like a positive spin to your lesson in life. I'm like that with myself too. So really, the first couple of days I was in a lot of like, not denial, but I was in a lot of space where I'm like, it's okay, I'm gonna focus on the positive, like that's it. I've been traveling in the van, so I was just focusing on these beautiful blessings of nature and listening to birds and like grounding. But then every time something would come up, I would just really react to it, like, and not feel like I am able to move on as fast. So then I started noticing that in my friends as well, and noticing that everyone has kind of gone quiet. Like everyone I've been talking to took a pause, and that's when I realized, okay, this is just not me. It's probably something happening, something just collectively we are just feeling it. And astrologically, I know there's a lot happening. I follow it, but I also don't really study it so well to like speak about it. But all I can speak about is energies are a bit weird, vibes are off for sure. And I think all four of us have been feeling it this week as well. So it will be useful to talk it out, and also just probably come back to what helps to move through these sort of heavy weeks or days to keep going. And I'm also curious to hear some examples from listeners as well, if you want to share in comments or personally in DMs, because all of that just helps to process, like for us collectively. And I love sharing these things, and it will be really handy. So I will share my week later after you guys go. But how did you find the week, and how are you managing through it?
Yeah, I think the week has been, well, I feel like it's not just the week, and we were discussing this before, like you were saying, people have gone quiet. It's like I have felt that need to kind of go inward for a few weeks now. And while I've still kind of shown up on social media, I really feel like having that time to sit with the energy and the feeling and the not trying to push through it. And we were saying before about how it's a really great lesson in that if you are feeling it, to acknowledge it and to feel it within your body and go, okay, what is this telling me, and why am I being challenged with trying to push forward? And maybe seeing it as more of a redirection than a well, it's still a challenge, but what is it that I should be doing? Like, should I be going and pouring a bath rather than pushing through and trying to head to the gym when I don't feel like it, or, things like that. And I feel like the week has definitely, this week especially, since the full moon, has really shown that we do need to have that little bit more calm and that little bit more silence, and maybe that ability to disconnect slightly from what's going on the outside. So yeah, that's what I've been really focusing on this week, because it just seems like the energies outside are really heightened as well. And there's a lot of people struggling with the energy of this week. There's been a lot of people that have like either lost their job, or I've actually had a couple of friends who have like lost their job or been made redundant. But then also shifting into this like a new job or a new opportunity, and the redundancy or firing has actually made them realize, actually, this is my opportunity for change. And like that was what the full moon was all about, was releasing and shifting into the new and this like new pathway. So yeah, so it was really interesting for me. Just I really have been sitting back and focusing on my core unit, and being in that energy, and being really, I guess, conscious of the energy that I let in. So yeah, I think that's been sort of my week. Alex?
Yeah, I can absolutely resonate with that. I feel like it's not just been this week, but like a few weeks back now. I've been feeling that push of just this big wave of kind of like something needs to conclude or end. And it's interesting that you mentioned that some people have lost their jobs or like some sort of change in their career, because like I've also made like a huge change in mine where I finally had the guts to ask work to move to part-time, which is something that I've been wanting to do, or at least something that I've been thinking about, of like whether I should change, I guess, my work situation. And that was something that I feel like definitely it has something to do with the energies that have been happening for the past couple of weeks, where it's just finally pushed me to that point where I couldn't I couldn't ignore it anymore, and I had to do something about it. So yeah, so that was a huge release for me. Like that was a whole weight off my shoulders kind of thing, and it made me feel a lot better, because then I feel like then I could actually look at the things that I want to focus on more, and not so much of this is weighing on me and I feel like I can't do anything. But I feel like that's also like what everyone's feeling, like this whole cloud or this whole like, I don't know, ick.
Like the fear's been removed.
Yeah.
And then you're able to make that the clear choice forward.
Yeah.
Like the fear has been moved.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's good to be aware that there's this energy going on, because then we can work with it instead of working against it. Because I think we mentioned this like previously when we were just having our private conversations, where it was helpful knowing that this is happening collectively, because then we're not just so blind and like lost and like, oh my God, what's happening? Like at least we know that we're all feeling it, and we can all like be aware of it and decide like how we're gonna work with it, instead of like just, I don't know, blindly going through it and like working against it even. So I don't know, but I feel like that's been the whole energy that I've been feeling, and I've been trying to find ways of how to ground myself. So I feel like for me, I've been drawing my focus a lot on like family and like looking into my ancestry, and I felt that was really like grounding for me in a way, because I felt like literally going back to my roots and like getting to know my roots a lot more really helped me give clarity to what I want to do, or like how I want to approach the things that I want to be, I guess, focusing on. So that has given me, I guess, like that's a kind of like my lifeboat at the moment in this kind of energy that we're in. And I've also been like, I went back to my parents on the weekend as well, so that was really nice, like spending time with them, and actually had a conversation with my mom that was really wholesome as well. So yeah, usually I get, when I'm with my parents or like when I'm with my family for an extended period of time, there's always going to be like trigger moments, right? Like, but surprisingly this weekend, there wasn't any of that. That was just like a whole like really nice weekend with them. And I was just like, that's that's like not really a first thing, but like that was like the first time that I've actually realized that, oh, I didn't feel annoyed or triggered or anything like that. Actually, it really was like a nice interaction, and it was, you know, I don't know, that energized me being there, because other times it would drain me sometimes with, you know, all the triggers.
What do you think was different?
What was different? I think we were all, because I was just mainly spending time with my dad and my mom and my dad, and my brother was there for dinner. But I think we were all just intentionally wanting to spend time with each other. I mean, we did end up watching like a movie on Netflix as well, but you know, like I think just like intentionally wanting to spend time and be present with each other. And I was really surprised because I was having a conversation with my mom, and she was like, I was telling her like, oh, I actually saw an astrologer and this is what they told me. And I feel like she has some stories that she hasn't told me yet, because she's like, oh, I was like that before. Like I was like into like, you know, crystal balls and looking at cards and stuff. And I was like, wow. And she's like super religious, you know, like
So
I
you
came
didn't know
from,
that about
I
her?
didn't know that about her, but she didn't even look surprised when I told her that, you know, what came up in my astrology reading, and there was a strong grandmother presence, and I told her, I think it's your mom.
One that you had?
Yeah, well, I told her, I didn't go into specifics, but I told her that I saw like, you know, like two astrologers, and they were both consistent with the readings, and she didn't even seem surprised or phased, or even, you know, I feel like she's already, this is me just assuming. If my mom's listening right now, Mom, you can confirm this for me. But it sounded like she's heard this before, and I'm like, why does this not surprise you? Anyway, so that was a very different conversation that I didn't expect would go peacefully. I don't know if that sounds right, because like, I don't know.
You had the assumption that it wouldn't go peacefully.
Maybe.
And she surprised you.
Yeah, because I wasn't even prepared to have that conversation with her. It just came up. You know, that was not planned. It just came up very naturally as well. Like it wasn't set up or anything, but
It would have felt nice, like sharing your authentic self with her too.
yeah.
Like, sharing stuff that you've been exploring.
Yeah, so she was still kind of like, I think we were just very receptive and open, because obviously like how she sees her faith and how she, you know, she's very obviously rooted in the Christian values and, you know, all that, the practices and stuff. But I think she was also very receptive of how I'm going about with finding my own spirituality and my connection with a higher being. So she wasn't shutting me down, but she was, I mean, I know as a mom, she's still also trying to pull me into what she feels like is the right direction for me, but she doesn't force me into it, you know? So that was really lovely, because like, I guess, you know, I could see like her growing as well. Yeah. And I think she can see that in me, and we're kind of just respecting each other's journey. So that was beautiful, because I haven't connected with my mom in that way before. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to, I guess, just being a lot more, I think it kind of opened a new layer of communication between the two of us. So I'm really excited to have more interactions with her like that, because I never really, I guess, expected to be able to open up to her like that. But yeah, that was nice.
do you feel like how I said about, for me, focusing on the core family unit, maybe we can look deeper into whether that is actually, I think that is coming up, and that was the last full moon as well, was deepening relationships and communication, and relationships that are toxic are moving away, and different things. So when I said focusing on the core family unit, potentially that is also what you were feeling and what you were doing.
Yeah.
And that is the energy as well, was focusing on the core family unit. And why you didn't feel like there was any triggers or anything, because you all felt that energy. You all felt that like, we're just happy to be in this unit and really love on each other and be in each other's presence.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah, that could be it too. I mean, I don't know what they were going through. Like I don't know what their week was going, or how their week was looking like at that point. But I know my parents are like starting to feel like the whole like empty nesters kind of vibe. Like every time like one of their children come over, they're so happy just to have us over. But yeah, I don't know. It could be that too, but it was just nice. Like, seeing my relationship with my parents evolve in the way that they did, coming from like feeling like they don't understand me, or like, you know, the part of the reason why I had to move out was because I was just clashing with them so much. But now it's just, I think moving away has made it a lot more beautiful and a lot more like I can feel a lot more connected to them and feel more loved and, you know, miss them and not be triggered, you know what I mean?
They say distance makes the heart
Makes the heart grow fonder. Exactly. And I feel like, I don't know, that definitely has helped a lot. So it is beautiful. So I appreciate that. So that has helped me get through, I guess, this whole weird energy that we're going through right now. So
I feel like connecting to your ancestry as well would be adding to that, like appreciation and like sharing of who you are and what interests you, and maybe wanting to get to know your parents on a level of like who they are as humans and people too.
been a lot of unpacking and a lot of releasing, but also a lot of discovering in a way. So like I've released some things and now I'm ready to receive and like discover new things about myself and how I want to, I guess, go about that. I don't know yet, but that's just all. It's been a journey so far. Yeah.
What do you feel like is different in, I feel like now this is taking a whole different spin, but I'm fascinated. What do you feel like is different in how you relate to them? Like versus like previous times where you have been triggered, and now, like what do you feel like was different in you and your heart and like how you approached the weekend with them?
I guess this has been an ongoing thing now, and I feel like definitely getting to know myself a lot more, and then just understanding where they were coming from. Because I feel like the whole time when I was still living with them, I was like, it felt like it was a very kind of like a teenager kind of like mindset where it's like, you're not hearing me and you're just trying to do things like, against me. Yeah, like you don't understand me. It's not a phase, Mom. I don't know why I did that voice. It's like sound like a dude. But I think I don't know, just because like my family and I have a group chat, and so, you know, because most of my siblings now are also living away, and so we constantly share what we've been going, like, you know, what's been happening in the week and all that stuff. And it's just I don't know, I think it made me realize like, oh, they have their own lives and they go through their own like trials and problems and all that stuff. And I think it also just really helped in hindsight, like how they raised like me and my siblings as well, because they really like focused on like you know, at the end of the day, your family is the people that are going to always have your back no matter what. So, and they've been really consistent with that with me. So I feel like with all the decisions that they've made, like even though back then I thought they were working against me, like they all had like good intentions, or they always wanted what was best for me. So I think looking at that, even on the moments where I felt like they were not supporting me or not hearing me out, I feel like they were still coming from a place of good intent. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I think my parents were also just a lot more expressive now of like how much they could love and care us. Like the moment we all left the house, they're like, we miss you and we love you. And they were more like huggy and, you know, like affectionate, which before they weren't. And now I'm like, oh. So it was nice. It's nice. It's like a nice, it's funny. I think maybe it comes with age as well. They become more sentimental. Yeah. So it's been, I guess that's been a really big positive. And, you know, maybe that's where I'm meant to focus my time now, is like going back to family and roots and releasing whatever it is that I was meant to release. And there's a lot happening up until the end of November. And this is just based on like what one of my astrologers has told me. Like it's going to be hectic until the end of November. And, you know, people can look into that however they want. They can look at the transits and stuff. But collectively, I think there's a lot of stuff happening. So yeah, that's me.
I feel like this past week particularly has just been, it's actually been like a roller coaster. Yeah, I've had some really beautiful moments throughout the week. Like But I've also been really tired, and like similar to what Catherine was speaking about, like, you know, what is it that rest looks like for us, or how can we attune to our bodies and what do we need? And I think big themes for me over the past week have just been listening to my body, listening to myself, allowing myself to sleep or rest if I want to, and then like connecting to the parts of me that might feel shame if I want to stay in bed until like 9 a.m. You probably get this, Anna. Yeah. And just allowing myself to do what it is that I need, and setting boundaries is a really big theme that's come up. And, you know, I've had a few people want to talk to me about, this is more so family, about certain things. And instead of saying no, and this is where I'm now noticing like the parts of me that do people please, instead of saying like, no, actually I don't have time or space for this, or I'm not open to having this conversation, I've just allowed it. And then after that I felt resentful, and then I felt extra drained. And so it really has been a week of just connecting to myself and my body and what I need, and listening to where it is that I want to set more boundaries. But it's also been really wholesome, and funnily, I've connected with my family quite a bit over the past couple of weeks too. And that's been really lovely and really sweet. And the energy has been quite nice there, where usually I would feel quite triggered. I haven't. But there are definitely like places where I do want to set more boundaries with how I spend my time and how I communicate, and what conversations I allow to take place, and just realizing like it is okay to say no. And I think because I've been so tired, and I've gone into these interactions like extremely tired, then I haven't been able to be like, okay, this isn't what I want. No, I think I've just been sitting there like a mindless drone, just like, awareness is everything.
I can really resonate with like self-compassion and forgiveness for just needing to take days off. That Capricorn rising in you, Capricorn energy in me, like just not letting me settle, like letting me just relax and take a breather sometimes. But I also have been definitely sort of connecting to the idea that I need to do what I need to do to stay in the grounded, it's like in that grounded state, despite all of the challenges like this week in particular. Because if what's interesting, leading up to the full moon, I've seen some people sharing that they're having really like bad days or just testing days, and I was just in awe because nothing was happening in my life that would shake me. It was actually all good. But once I went on my trip, it was all just opened the gates of everything coming into my life. And nothing too dramatic as well. It's just more of how I was reacting to it. And that's when I realized like I just need to give myself that emotional safety to just live through it, and also just give myself space to like heal and just relax. And that's why most of my time I was spending either sleeping or napping or like grounding in nature, or like power walking through mountains, which didn't help. My calves especially weren't really happy. I really like this week, it just that week where I just needed to be really kind to myself, and a lot more time spending just, okay, I did have all these plans, to-do lists, all the things I wanted to do, and just like completely forgiving myself for not being able to do anything, and not like sort of going into frustration about it, because in my human design, when I'm not fulfilled, I go into frustration. And I've been quite unkind to myself in the past as a result of that tendency. So really clocking it and like remembering all the tendencies, and like I feel like also this week, because of the testing energies, it felt like a lot of revising all the things I've learned, like learning, like I've learned that I'm hard on myself, so I was revising all the things that I've learned to be kinder. Before, like right before my trip, something came up and triggered something in like partnership wound for me that was triggering a lot in the first couple of days especially, or just overall that idea of like, will I ever meet someone in my life? Like, will there be ever a match if I've missed all the other matches in my life like already? And that is like also a trigger that let me again remember all the things I've learned about like life and like trusting universe. Like connections are beautiful when you really let them into your life, but also I don't expect them. So it was a huge kind of contrasting also like with beautiful moments in my week, and also moments that really tanked my mood and really needed to like really test all of the things, the lessons I've learned before it, to really like remind myself, to connect, like collect myself. And for that I am grateful, because when we make decisions, and I've noticed it with me, and then I notice it with my friends, as soon as we make a decision, something comes into our life to test it pretty much immediately, to be like, are you actually downing on this, or are you going to like repeat the cycle? So that this week really felt like it for me, and being really just on my own this week as well, like fully self-reliant on everything, was an interesting addition to all of this, because that like let me explore the masculine and feminine in me, and really appreciate the fact that the being in the masculine is not the state I see myself in forever, even though it may seem like it is appropriate for my period in my life right now. So a lot of like revelations during this week, but oh my gosh, so heavy. And yeah, it's so helpful to like know that you are not the only one who's going through it, and like collectively we are going through it. Also with the Pluto kind of being on this brink of Capricorn Aquarius, just like movements, and in November it finally moving to Aquarius. I feel like it's built, and Aquarius is like the one of the themes of it is just like dissolving any of those power dynamics in the world. I feel like we are feeling that heaviness in our lives, but also whatever is happening in Hollywood right now is insane, right? And that, because it's like I was a pop culture girly for a longest time, until like probably my spiritual awakening. That's when I realized, oh my gosh, this is all bullshit. But I was so like up to date with everything in pop culture, and now seeing it pretty much crumbling, and really wanting it just to actually go and actually fully crumble, like not just a little bit, because something beautiful can build from the ashes, and then applying that to then personal like life, and just thinking, oh my gosh, okay, if I think this way about something that needs to crumble because I really see the potential of it to being something beautiful, Hollywood, politics, I don't know, many things, right? Same about my life. Let it all burn. Right? Let it burn, but like just let it all happen, because beautiful things will come out of it. Just the card you've pulled, like during the spread, one card that I was drawn to is difficult growth in something new, like something like that. But it was just like something new usually comes in a very difficult way, especially change is kind of difficult to process for anyone. But we just, instead of focusing on how difficult it is, we need to appreciate sometimes that it is bringing something new and fresh.
The death and the rebirth.
Yeah.
And the you need to have the mud for the lotus to grow. Yeah. And that, that is poignant at the moment, is that you need to have everything crumble down to then rebuild with a stronger foundation and a more aligned foundation as well. And how you were saying like that when a decision's made, it's like the universe being like, well, are you sure you want it? But that's also being fully aware of our subconscious thoughts, because our subconscious mind just wants to keep us safe. So it's like that, you know, that protector comes in. And again, this is, don't want to go into Tash's department of the IFS because you are better explaining it, the protectors, than me. But I'll say it from like a subconscious mindset, in like that it's like your fear comes in to be like, no, that's not safe. Like, you need to stay with what you know, and this is the safety. And so it'll throw up different fears and different reasons why. And then, of course, those fears manifest into like an obstacle. So yeah, it is the challenge of like overcoming whatever that challenge is, to push through and actually stick with the decision, or like continue with that vision in like a higher self. But I think especially at the moment, we need to be really aware how we're talking to ourselves, but also how we're interacting with others in this space. Being aware of our own wounding and how we actually are projecting out. In a manifestation sense, that's what we're pulling in and what is being reflected to us. And when we talk about manifestation, it isn't just, you know, something that, okay, I'm getting up today and I'm deciding to manifest a new car. It's like we are constantly manifesting because we're constantly, you either manifest good or bad. Like, it's whatever is reflected back to you regardless. It's your subconscious thoughts. And so in this space, it's like giving us the opportunity to actually sit there and go, how am I talking about myself? How am I projecting out? How am I relating to others? Again, like with family and communication and different conversations. It's like, and even, you know, being by yourself and realizing, well, what is it that I want, and allowing things to crumble, but being self-aware and being like, how am I bringing this forward, and how am I moving forward? What do I really want? But really acknowledging how we are, I don't want to say behaving, but how we are in that moment. How am I interacting? Like I said, you know, it's sort of hard to explain on a deeper level, but just being really self-aware of how we feel, those voices in our head, the things that we think about or feel about other people. Or I guess for me, like, I don't watch the news because I don't, the most I see about like news and Hollywood and stuff is like on TikTok or social media. But again, it's like that, being able to pull it back, the input, because that also changes how you feel. So being by yourself, you don't have that added input of everybody else around you and their energy and their moods and their things that are going on for them, and being able to sit there and go, okay, how do I feel? How do I feel in this moment?
While I was on the trip, I was doing it without music completely. It's my second time I've done a van trip, and partially because I couldn't figure out how to connect my phone.
It was foresight.
But first couple of days I didn't even try to. Like, I really wanted to stick with just like my thoughts, like what I'm thinking. And it was really interesting to just be like with me for such a long time, because you are driving, like you can't numb out on a TikTok or like go into a social media or like chat with someone else, listen to a song that's like just going to distract you, or book. Like, I've been really forced to be just with myself and my thoughts, and that was really good reminder to be like, I should practice a bit more of that, because as soon as I came home I found myself like scrolling a bit more than I was on the trip, because that's an easy way to escape your thoughts. And how important it is for us like to really hear ourselves. And like the more you're talking about it right now, Catherine, is for me to also just reflect on like, yeah, it's been actually so healing to be just in my own energy, in my own space, and just give myself even space for all of that. And I really feel like I need to be creating more intentions for it, because in the last 2 days that I've been at home since the trip, I have been purposefully kind of avoiding my thoughts, because it's been like just such a heavy week that I just don't want to sit in it. But maybe rather than running away from it, I've got to like actually sit in it again, and actually properly, you know, just honor that.
I do feel like, though, in saying that it is okay to give yourself that mental break. I know for myself, I can, like, I rarely, my house is never quiet. I know I have kids, but when I don't have the kids, I either have a podcast on, or I have music on, or I have the telly on. Like, my brain kind of, I don't really like silence. And so in saying that, I think there's a balance, that it is okay to lie on the couch and scroll TikTok if you feel like you want to, or it is okay to pop on a movie, or it is okay to binge watch a Netflix series, or go for a walk and put a podcast in your ears, but also being able to acknowledge, okay, when do I need to sit in that silence, which is, I think, what you're touching on is realizing that it is okay to sit in that silence and really enjoy it as well. But again, it's that self-compassion we were talking about. No one's perfect.
Yeah. And intention as well, right? Like, what is the intention that we're bringing to this? You know, if we are going to sit and do something self-soothing, how can we bring intention to that? Numbing versus self-soothing versus addiction, right? Are you doing it from a place of addiction and complete avoidance, and numbing, or is it something that you are intentionally doing to soothe and support yourself?
It's funny because, like, for me, I know I have an addiction with scrolling and social media, and for some reason, for whenever I think it relates to the statement that you said, where the universe tests you on a decision that you decide to make. Because whenever I'm trying to be like, okay, I'm gonna be productive this week, this is what I'm gonna do, and for some reason, what happens is I get worse. Like, I don't know, maybe the universe puts like pockets of moments where it's like, okay, it'll test me. It's like, okay, are you actually going to do what you say you're going to do? Or are you going to waste time again on social media for this? And, like, because habits, like, I'm used to just scrolling and doing nothing. That's what I end up doing. I get frustrated and I was like, wow, I wasted all that time when I could have done what I said I was going to do.
That's also your subconscious keeping you safe, though, because scrolling is safety.
Yeah. So I think, but I'm aware of what I'm doing, but I'm still doing it, which is crazy. So I feel like, I resonate with that a lot. Like, just being aware of, and the intention of doing it. Like, I know this is not serving me. Like, sometimes I do feel like, okay, I need a break, but I can do other things that are a lot more healthier rather than just sticking to scrolling. Like, I could have a break by, say, listening to music or listening to a podcast, or I don't know, maybe a podcast might be too, like, I have to absorb it, but maybe just listening to music, because that has something that I've been doing before, but now I've just shifted to scrolling a lot more.
I feel like you'd have to listen to music and then like change the song every like 10 seconds to like get that same dopamine fix, like next, la 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 la. Because it's so addictive. Yeah.
But I feel like, I think it's just recognizing if whatever that self-soothing habit is serving you, or if it's making it worse.
Touched on like how it's protecting you as well. Like, what is it through doing this behavior, or what is it through this avoidance? What is it that you're protecting? Like, what's underneath that? Like, if you weren't scrolling, what is it that you would be doing?
A lot of things.
So you'd be making the shift. You'd be making the change.
Of doing something rather than resting.
Not so much doing something rather than resting, but it would be like, potentially you're going to up level. Okay, so say with your part-time, going part-time, potentially procrastinating. You were saying you really struggled with saying that to your work that you wanted to go part-time, and it's been something you've been thinking about. So potentially, instead of building up the courage to say to your work, I want to go part-time and this is my plan and this is where I want to head, you're like, doom scroll. And so then it's something that you've just put off. And I say that because I do exactly the same thing in regards to, like, I'm like, yes, I'm going to be productive today. And then I'm like 6 hours later on TikTok, like, and then I don't even remember what I've watched. Like, it's just flicking, right? Yeah. It's like, it keeps you safe, because if you weren't just doom scrolling, you could potentially would have made the leap earlier to go part-time and then to up level your life in the way that you want to. So it's safe to just doom scroll because you're not changing anything. So your body's like, or your subconscious mind is like, well, it's safe.
Yeah.
So we're just going to let you doom scroll. And when you try and shift it, it's your subconscious mind and the fears and the whole backstory going, that's that tape that runs in the back of your head going, well, if we do this, what's going to happen? We don't know what's going to happen, but we know that doom scrolling is safe. And like Tash said, it's a dopamine hit. So you know that you're going to be getting that dopamine. It's safe to get the dopamine.
Yeah. Now I understand you though. I feel like for me, because like I can feel like it is keeping me safe, but like that reality for me at the moment wasn't even like reality that I wanted. So, and that's why I think it got to that point where I was like, I can't take this anymore. I need to do something about it. So I feel like me doom scrolling was a way of like silencing those thoughts of like, I'm unhappy with my current situation, but also I'm scared to do what I have to do to improve it. So it's kind of like
Double-edged sword.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, scrolling to kind of just numb myself or like just take me out of this reality and like dive into something else. But I guess, yeah, it's really, I guess, important to, I guess, like recognize as well what those habits are doing for you. If it's like, yeah, helping you. Because like I know they can serve as like a good break from reality as well, but not escaping from it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, really good points and really good. It's funny, like it's 21st century and the biggest hurdle in most people's lives is overcoming the addiction to social media. And that's all we're talking about. Like anyone I would talk to would be like, oh my God, I just scrolled for like hours. Or, you know, obviously not everyone, because you wouldn't open up to everyone about it either. Like it's only just closest friends that you can admit to being like lazy, but like on your bed or couch, just like scrolling for 6 hours. But not something you talk to everyone, but it is a huge challenge that we all are like facing as a humanity. So I really hope that there are some efforts to actually teach kids as well, because I'm like, yeah, we're all that generation that grew up without social media but like kind of grew into it in my like adolescence, adulthood. So we don't even have all, like our brains were already kind of formed without social media, but we're still like struggling with it. I can't imagine. That's one of the reasons why I want to live with my siblings and actually like observe it.
Well, even my kids, they want to watch YouTube, but it's all families that are family blogging on YouTube. And so for them, it is completely normal to live your life on social media. And I'm like, it's not normal. Like not everyone has to know every single thing. And the amount of kids now that are like, when I grow up, I want to be a blogger or I want to be a YouTube star. And I'm like, what? Like, that is not what we're aspiring to here, people. Like, what did I want to be? What did I want to be? I actually think I always wanted to go into Chinese medicine or like healing. So I've never, as a kid, yeah, I grew up with that.
Okay.
I grew up with that. So that's what, like my year 10 work experience was at my best friend's dad's Chinese medicine clinic.
Loved that.
So I've never really shifted in that. But we also, like we said, we didn't have social media. We weren't, even as a teenager, thank God, we didn't have that where our lives were put on social media where we would sit and doom scroll other people's lives. We didn't have that growing up.
I recently had a thought that we have social media and you know how things like Catherine already brought it up, like we manifest things into life unconsciously if we are unconscious about it, right? Like we still manifest things, negative or positive. As humanity, we've kind of grown from television kids, like watching TV all the time, to like now social media kids, like or like iPad kids, right? But those aspirations of like that kids have now in terms of being blogger and everything, I'm sure they were also running in all the television kids who wanted to be like on TV, right? I was one of them, and I was imagining like washing my dishes and had my talk show.
Look at you now.
And I have a
the game show kids.
Yeah, the game shows. Yeah.
Oh, I was one of those kids. I wanted to.
And like in a way, social media is kind of doing that for us. Like we manifested social media to have more access to do all these talking gigs and like game things and all of that. So as a reality, it always serves to the collective, and that's why it's like as a collective we kind of need to be mindful of things that we are engaging in, and that's like another huge topic, I guess. But
like, how can we use it intentionally?
yeah, how can we use intentionally that collective mind? And like for me, my biggest aspiration in life is just, at least as a collective, heal a bit more, like develop that self-awareness or like self-healing practices, so that whatever as a collective we kind of bring into life is at least a bit more conscious, or from a place of healed, and like no, not wounds of fear, but hopefully we'll see more of that, and I'm already seeing more of that. But maybe before we wrap up the session, should we draw a card and like do a bit of a reading?
Can I just add, like, given the whole energy of the week and just the past few weeks, how we all still made an effort to be in this circle. And I feel like that speaks a lot about, again, I feel like we were all trying to just look at, you know, things to ground us. Like, we were all trying to look inward, like, you know, going back to connecting with people who help us ground ourselves, or connecting inwards and doing things to help us ground ourselves. And I think it's a really good thing to highlight, where, like, during energies like these, to really recognize, like, what are those things, or who are those people that will be able to support you in like these turbulent energies, you know? Because I know, like, we were all talking about, like, oh, we didn't really feel like getting out of bed or leaving the house today, but we all like still made an effort to come out here. So I feel like, yeah, that's been a really good, like, I feel us bringing that energy of like intentional, like just having that intentional decision of like, okay, we're all coming in together to talk about all these heavy energies and just be there for each other, and talking all this out. So I feel like that's really special.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a good
Yeah.
reflection. Yeah, that's beautiful. Catherine, what are we seeing?
So we got the Justice card, but then we also got 8 of air. So there's 8 coming up here a lot. 4 of Cups, Ace of Pentacles. So I feel like it's a really big reflection on, with the Justice card, fair and just decisions. Do what you know is right. Stand up for your beliefs. But it's also like this this archangel, I don't want to say his name wrong, Reguel. But he's coming in with his wings and his sword, and it's kind of like, this is, to me, a vision of like a really coming in and stepping into your power and stand up for your beliefs, like stepping into your full authentic strength and your beliefs, your belief system. And 8 of air is all about the illusion of being trapped, a lack of self-confidence, afraid to take action. So again, it's that, like, and the unicorns are coming, like, running in this picture. So it's really showing that we are moving forward. To me, that it shows movement, releasing the fears, releasing the illusion of being trapped, and releasing the low self-confidence, and the fear. And of course, coming through, we've got the Death and Rebirth card, the Star, Ace of Cups, and 2 of Cups, with the Ace of Pentacles and the 4 of Cups. So 4 of Cups is about, like, in the image, I don't know, Anna, if we want to take a photo and attach this, if we can somehow, or write up what it is. You know, the 4 of Cups, there's a girl that she's sitting here with 3 cups beside her that are empty, and she just looks miserable. And there's a 4th cup next to her that actually has a hand underneath it. So it's being passed to her, and it's got rainbows coming out of it, but she's looking in the opposite direction, like she just can't see it. And it's like this feeling of completely missing what's actually going on. That rainbow right next to her, she's focusing on the empty cups, and she's just like, well, this is crap. Like, there's literally, her face looks like, well, this is shit. But next to her is this beautiful rainbow that's being passed to her in this cup. And, you know, Ace of Cups, 2 of Cups, it's all about bringing forth what you want, and also making beautiful connections. The Star, you know, she's looking up to this beautiful star in the sky, and it's magic, and about bringing forward what it is that you want in your life and manifesting. And Ace of Pentacles, again, is about manifesting. On the bottom of the deck is the Chariot, and the Chariot is always about fast movement coming in. So looking at the cards, it's all about releasing what's been holding us back, releasing the fear, releasing what it is that is stopping us from stepping into our full power, into our full belief system, and into our strength. The death and rebirth, again, letting go. And also, funnily enough, I put it down next to the justice and the 8 of air, and in the middle of the words death and rebirth is the infinity symbol, which is 8 sideways. So we've got 8, 8, and 8. So it is all about, stepping into that power, allowing that release from the past, allowing the negative, the bullshit from the past to be released, and stepping up and being like, right, I'm ready to manifest what I want, and I'm looking towards the cup that's full, not the cups that are empty. And again, like I said, the chariot on the bottom of the deck means fast movement coming in. Once we shift that, we have the fast movement coming in for what it is that we want, those connections, the dream life, the new start, really.
Wow. I feel like that's quite reflective of my mindset, like not looking at the rainbowy full cup, but like more of a what's empty or like what's not working out. So overall beautiful, like I really like this spread, and the fact that we have chariot like really showing that as soon as you flip that, you will see some movement, is very reassuring. I've been feeling definitely called to do more of like intentional journaling and visualizing of like who I want to be, like of how I want to show up in the world in my next like stage in life, and that's a beautiful reminder for me personally. Does anyone have a reflection?
I think it's interesting how the 888 has shown up, because that has been something that has I've been told to work with, like those numbers. And I feel like that also resembles abundance, right? Yeah.
Infinity symbol, abundance and change and greatness and all the good stuff.
Yeah. So I feel like that's very reflective of the collective energy as well. Like right now, I think we're all being asked to shed what doesn't serve us anymore, so that we can receive what is meant to be, basically receive the next stage, or like getting ready for the next stage. And I feel like a lot of it is happening quite quickly.
Yeah.
Like we're feeling this huge push to just release whatever it is that doesn't really serve us anymore.
If we don't release what doesn't serve us, we continue to manifest the same thing. So unless we sit, and that is, like we said, what this full moon is all about, is about releasing that. And if we don't release it, we just continue to bring the same stuff forward. And that's why it's the death and rebirth card, because you literally have to have that death and rebirth, the burn it to the ground, to the ashes. You have to have that mud for the lotus to bloom, because if you don't, the same, as I say, like the same tape plays in the back of your head, the same subconscious mindset tape just continues to play, and you don't know it. And you could be like, yes, I'm ready to take on the world. But actually you're looking at the world through the same lenses that you were looking at before. So, you know, like we said, that reflection of get rid of once you remove the bullshit from the past and the thoughts and the different things, as the chariot says, it all moves really fast. But you do have to really know where it's coming from and how to move it and how to shift it, to be ready to bring it all in. And as you were saying, Anna, about the intentional writing, one thing that I really love doing is actually writing as if it's already happened. You're writing as your higher self, and that brings in things really quick, and people will start reflecting back to you what it is you have written in, you know, that you want, interactions that you want to happen, or different things that you want to happen, scenarios, and also being open to, you were talking about connections with other, this is my brain catching back up on things that I wanted to say before, about meeting someone in a connection, actually calling that in, openly calling that in, and being like, I am ready for my connection to walk in. I am ready for my 12 cups to walk in. Actually intentionally being like, I am ready. I release the past. I'm ready for my death and rebirth. I'm going through that. I've been through it. I'm ready now. And I call it in. And again, it goes back to that intention.
I love the death card. It's so beautiful. I think what really stood out to me in this spread, and I guess everyone can look at tarot and what's come up as what kind of speaks to you and what you resonate with and what calls to you in here, and explore the themes that come up for you and use it as a tool to delve into your subconscious. But what really stands out to me is this Justice card and the sword and the 2 columns, and this idea of like the sword wielding like this device of truth and cutting through something and breaking open and getting to the bottom, and the 2 pillars and the 2 columns representing like duality and choices. And I do feel like that's something that's really come up for me a lot lately. Just being excited about death. So it sounds really morbid. But excited about that rebirth and that transformation, and having to really cut through things. And when I think of choice and decisions as well, like just another reflection of what's come up, something I'm noticing within myself is not making decisions when I'm extremely elated or extremely low. And I tend to like my emotions, I tend to feel things really deeply and really, really intensely. And I tend to get so excited and want to make decisions when I'm so high. And that doesn't always necessarily work out for the best as well. And so just finding my way back to this kind of middle ground where, you know, this beautiful, this is the archangel that we couldn't say his name, Raguel. Just being in the center and wielding that sword of truth and that decision maker, and just seeking and finding that balance and that equilibrium before really making these big decisions. And also this star. And when I saw that and like the 4 of Cups card, just reflecting on like, what are some glimmers and some moments of brightness that I have experienced. And I have experienced a lot. Like yesterday, I sent you guys a photo yesterday where I was doing watercolor with my little cousin. And so I taught her how to make, she already knew how to make a chatterbox, but we made affirmation chatterboxes. And I taught her about angel numbers, and then we made little affirmation chatterboxes. And like one of hers was, one of the affirmations was like, you are so deeply loved and deeply beautiful and supported. I was like, oh, that's so cute.
That's nice.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what comes up for me. I expect miracles.
That's the affirmation for the star.
So I was just like reminded of something, like it was a saying that I've read on like social media as well. It's like the opposite of triggers is glimmers. Yeah. And so that's like what the 4 of Cups is kind of reminding me with the rainbow. It's kind of like it's so easy to notice the triggers and to hyper focus on that we forget to appreciate and notice the glimmers in our lives. And they could be really beautiful, you know, like, but I guess it's just perspective sometimes, you know? Yeah, what we choose to focus on. So yeah.
And what we focus on manifests. So what you put energy into manifests. So if you focus on the triggers, then you bring more energy into the triggers and you bring more triggers. If you focus on the glimmers, then you bring forth more of the glimmers because you're living in gratitude.
Yeah. And it's also like, how is it that you are like, because both triggers and glimmers, you know, are equally as important, and our triggers can really help us, similar to tarot and other tools, like dive into the unconscious and the parts of us that need love. And like when I look at this card of the 4 of Cups, it's like, it's not even, I don't even feel like she's looking at her empty, like she's not even looking at the empty cups. So it's more just her face of like, oh, like whatever. But like, what if she were to look at those empty cups and like, you know, explore them and explore those triggers and get to know them, you know? She's bypassing, yeah, versus like, but even so, just like, even just if we just focus on glimmers too, like, yes, it's really important, but that in itself can be a bypass as well. So it's like, how can we hold the perspective of everything? How can we share some of this beautiful rainbow cup with the empty cups? You know, how can we pour from that full cup into those cups that might be empty and that might need a little bit of love and attention too?
Sure.
That's a beautiful reflection.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. On that note, I would love to wrap up this beautiful healing circle. Thank you for sharing this second time of recording the healing circle together. And I can't wait to do more episodes with you. And it's funny, like we planned one thing, we completely went into another, but it was really like felt. I feel like all of us, once we made effort to be here, we really connected on this topic of challenging week and challenging energies, and like then it just manifested in this awesome flow of energy, like between energy exchange. And I hope whoever is listening also you've enjoyed it, and maybe that helped you to reflect on some things in your life and that's been popping up for you. And if you want to share that, I would really love to read what's been happening for you and what you've been doing to ground or support yourself throughout. So please share in the comments, and otherwise we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Please share this episode with your nearest and dearest. Give this a like and leave a review. All of these help us reach the right people who need some healing in their life. I hope this serves your healing process.